Sunday Night Safran. Religion, politics, culture, and listening.
Shalom, salam, Paxty listeners and Father Bob.
Yes, sir.
Tonight we're going to be talking about Falun Gong, one of those little groups that might be clobbered over the head with batons during the Chinese Olympics. We're also going to be talking about Nepal, because stuff happened there, but no one paid attention because something else happened in the news that day. Like
Commos took over.
Shane Warne, had an affair or something, which meant no one outside of Nepal knows all this crazy stuff went down in Nepal. We also are going to be talking about your mob.
Well, who's the Roman Catholics?
And the Mafia.
Oh, the World Youth Day I thought you were going to talk about again.
John Follian's written all about the Mafia. We're going to be looking at the Catholic Mafia connection and whether it goes all the way from Sicily to South Melbourne. And we're also going to hopefully be talking to Brad Warner, a punk-rocking Zen
that'll be nice.
Buddhist. Hey, have you ever been on Melbourne's failed Ferris wheel?
No, not yet. What, has it failed already?
Well, yeah.
What, the Docklands one or the one up in
along the Yarra? You know that one?
Yeah, never been on it.
I'm trying to build a spatial picture for you listeners, like a Google map for you. Basically, there's this Ferris wheel that's away from most things. So, and I went there at 10 o'clock at night or even later.
Yeah.
And it's like you can simulate being in an art house film, like a David Lynch kooky art house film, because you walk there and there's no one there, and and it's like black all around, and then there's just like ding, 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 ding.
Does it come around still?
Yeah, and it's still going around, but
is there
me
anybody
and
on
my
it?
friend were the only ones who were like there, and it's like, and then you go up to where the little booth is.
Is there a man there?
Yes. Hello. You're half expecting some sort of like evil dwarf or something.
Yes.
Sort of like some surrealistic dwarf to come in or whatever. And then it's, do you want a ticket? And I said, yes. And we got tickets. And then we kind of go on this Ferris wheel that no one else is on. And no one is within 5 miles of it.
Yeah.
We go around in a slightly creepy way.
And you wake up in a future age or something.
Yes, and then we got off and ran away. And I couldn't figure out later whether it was a dream or not, whether I imagined the whole thing.
I like that. Because I've wondered as we drive past that many times going to the city, this damn thing seems to be going around with nobody in it.
I know, but do you know what I reckon that they've got right with the Melbourne's failed Ferris wheel? Is I reckon they can post-rationalise that, like in the meeting when they're looking at ticket sales and realise no one except me and my friend went on once, that's the entire income they've earned for that Ferris wheel ever, is they can go, it was never meant to be really for that. It's more like a visual thing.
Yeah, it's an objet d'art.
Yeah, it's an objet d'art. Because, you can see it and it adds to the vibrancy of the city and stuff. So well done.
Is there music comes out of it?
That's what I want to do. You got to think of an idea that when it fails, it was meant to have some other purpose besides that. That's what's the genius of Melbourne's failed Ferris wheel is.
I wonder if the one of the Docklands will in fact work.
I do the whole thing, obviously. I do a version of that where I pretend my motivation for, producing unpopular TV shows is art. Like, where it's
of course.
Like, I never meant it to be popular, obviously.
No.
I didn't.
Why would I have...
Of course, that is why,
That's right.
it comes fifth on the ratings out of the 5 so you can do that. That's my so I have the whole failed Ferris wheel philosophy where you figure out what your out clause is and how you've succeeded, even though you've clearly failed.
You wouldn't like to say what the view was like?
The view of the Ferris?
No, of the world that you when you went in the Ferris wheel, I presume was moving.
Yes, I couldn't...
Did you go to the top?
You know there's things...
But you couldn't see out the windows.
I've been to too many, legal meetings. The bane of my existence, really, legally, is my constant life, is when I'm producing something.
Yeah.
I'm always sitting there and talking and being told I can't... That shot I did when I walked past that billboard, I can't put that in because, it's copyright infringement and we'd have to get clearance from the freaking... Miramax and Quentin Tarantino because there's a poster of Pulp Fiction in the background and then that little bit and everything's like that, this whole copyright, blah, 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 that's my whole... So I can't enjoy life anymore. So when I was on the Ferris wheel, they were playing music that was they were playing Love Shack by B-52s and something else or whatever. And I was thinking to myself, I was going, I wonder
Have they got permission?
I'm wondering legally, are they legally just allowed to play the radio and that's okay? Or does it have to be more like a club because this is actually copyright? And that they actually have to pay an APRA royalty to blah, 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 blah. And that's what I was thinking the whole time when I meant to be having this relaxing fun time on the
So
Ferris
you're
wheel.
burnt out. Your whole brain's gone, isn't it?
But I noticed that also when I was watching, I was watching some British, like the telly movie series or whatever. This was about several months ago. I don't even know what it was called. And it was about these, it was set in a hospital and it was like these nurses. I think their kind of spin, the smarmy spin of the show was, this is what, ER would really be like if it was like gritty and real as opposed to Hollywoodized or whatever. And I saw it with some people who are in the medical field, right? So they're watching it the whole time and they're going, oh, my God, why doesn't he run off and do that? Oh, that makes no sense. He should have done blah. That's how they're doing it. They're approaching it from me. I kept on approaching it from the actor's point of view. Like, I could not lose myself in it. Like, there was this woman who was, like, dying on the surgery thing, but she was only like that. She went like this. She went, and there was only about 7 seconds or even less. And I could not think about how, oh, my God, I bet you that actress, she was like for the last 2 weeks, she's been like practicing for that whole thing. There's no way she just thought she was going to end up with 7 seconds in the cut. She was doing this whole freaking Marlon Brando kind of method acting for 2 weeks, thinking this was going to be her like Emmy Award-winning thing, and all they've done is freaking cut away.
Yes, I
can't
see
enjoy
what
life.
you mean. Yeah, well, life is a torture for you, isn't it, really?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I'm here as your counsellor and guide.
It can't be any worse than last week. Can I apologise, sincerely, listener, and I know I can't say sincerely without it sounding sarcastic, but the knock-on effect from how I had helium last week in the opening.
Yeah, what was the knock-on effect?
Well, I was all, like, flaky for the rest of the show because I was all, like, dizzy because I didn't realise, which I should have, but I didn't because I'm a humanities student. I didn't realise that because sometimes when I was sucking the helium, when I couldn't think of anything to say, rather than exhaling, I swallowed it. And if you do 4 balloons of that...
You're dead.
Yeah, well, you start going all... Like my eyelid was fluttering.
I was wondering because I thought you had designs on the guest.
I like chromed on helium, and that's why the rest of the show I couldn't assemble.
They liked it. The kiddies said it was the best show ever.
No, they didn't like. And I'm so we ruined so many like potential good interviews, especially that censorship one. I had all these notes. I did so much homework for that. I had all these notes of what I'm going to ask the censorship woman on censorship.
Yeah.
But I had all these new angles that were fresh and interesting, and that a Triple J audience would like to hear about because they were fresh and there wasn't like the same old thing.
No, you had a book full of them there.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Censorship. I've got 12 points.
But
and none of that, I couldn't because I was chroming on helium and like nearly falling off my chair. So this is only the second time I've been smashed on air.
Yeah.
There was another time, I didn't tell you about
What?
it. Because I just came in and like I tried to cover it or whatever. There was another time.
Was I here?
Basically, remember how we did that show? Like that was just after the election when Kevin Rudd got voted in, right? So I was at a Kevin 07, but hey, listen, I'm not political. I was just invited. You can imagine my friends. And basically bad stuff happened to me. Yeah. But there was nothing I could do. Like I still have to turn up to work. I've got a very good work ethic. Yeah. So I was given stuff. I don't want to make excuses.
No, we weren't.
But which meant that entire show, I have no idea what was going on.
Truly?
Yes.
And it was the best show ever?
No, it wasn't. It was the second worst show after helium.
Thank God I'm not involved in any of this. But I'm sitting here like a dummy. Listen to somebody who's out of their brain.
Yes, you had no idea. But you'd be used to it from your freaking church. I've been around your church.
Yeah, but I mean, we're not on the bloody
If someone comes to your church and they're only on one hit of heroin, they don't stand out.
No.
It's like they seem like the normal people compared to the people that are on 7 hits of heroin and have been chroming in the pew.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
We'll talk more after this.
Are you all right tonight?
Yes.
Oh. Band of Horses ode to LRC. Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
Joining us from a small booth in Canberra from the Australian National University is Dr. Benjamin Penny. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, John. How are you this evening?
Good, good, good. Now, this is an occasional series of people who may be struck over the head with batons by the Chinese government during the Olympics, and we've gone through other groups. This week we want to look at Follian Gong, which I believe you are an expert in.
Well, yes, a bit.
Now, who are Follian Gong?
Well, Falun Gong are a group that appeared in China in 1992, so they're not that old, really. They're a group that they call themselves a self-cultivation group. They're interested in performing certain spiritual, physical exercises that will change their bodies and cultivate themselves until they reach certain high states.
Anything to do with Confucius?
Nothing.
Nothing whatsoever.
What about Buddhism, Hinduism, any of those other religions? Anything to do with those spiritual thoughts?
It's not a lot to do with Hinduism. It has some connections with Buddhism. The name Falun Gong, or as they would call themselves Falun Dafa, the names are kind of interchangeable. The Falun of Falun Gong or Falun Dafa actually means the wheel of the law. And law, in this case, we're talking about is the equivalent to the Buddhist word dharma, the wheel of the dharma. And that word, Falun in Chinese, the wheel of the dharma, is a standard piece of Buddhist terminology. But many things in Falun Gong use Buddhist terminology, but they've got different meanings for them. To take that word Falun, for instance, in your standard Buddhism, it refers to, it's a metaphor for Buddhism itself. If you turn the wheel of the law in Buddhism, it means preaching the Buddhist message. In fact, the first sermon that the Buddha himself gave was called Turning the Wheel of the Law.
Can I ask you something? Go on.
Okay.
Finish.
In Falun Gong, the Falun, however, actually has a physical meaning. It means a physical wheel that exists in another dimension that the leader, the master of Falun Gong, a guy called Li Hongzhi, he actually inserts one of these things into your abdomen, and it spins in your abdomen.
Now, this is great.
Doing the exercises.
This is great because this is why we got you, a kind of outsider academic, on rather than someone inside. Because every time I've spoken to Falun Gong people, they kind of slightly fudge over what they actually believe in, and they just make out it's some kind of Tai Chi, meditation, yoga type thing. So give us the gory details of what you believe in, if you believe in Falun Gong.
Well, before I do that, I would say it's not particularly fudging over the details to say it's like a Tai Chi kind of thing. And I should explain a bit about that, because Tai Chi and Falun Gong are, if you like, at two ends of a continuum. And in Chinese thought, Chinese religion, Chinese culture, for as far back as you want to go, I mean, I'm talking thousands of years here, there has been a belief that it was possible to perfect your body, performing certain exercises, breathing exercises, gymnastic exercises, mental exercises.
So that's Tai Chi,
sexual exercises. Huh?
That's Tai Chi you're talking about?
Tai Chi is one of these things.
Yes.
It's just one of these varieties. Tai Chi is at the kind of most secular gymnastic end of it, if you like. But at the other end, you've got more spiritualized versions of the same theory, and that would be Falun Gong and some other groups also.
So what are they believing when they're claiming that something's being physically inserted into their abdomen? Like they're not. It's not just a story or a myth or a vibe.
No. The master, this guy Li Hongzhi, maintains that your body, the physical body that you exist in this world, is only one of a number of bodies that you have, and these other bodies exist in other dimensions.
Ah, yes.
And they exist all simultaneously, but they're all of different shapes and sizes and forms and whatever. We only know the body that we're in now, but all these bodies are somehow connected with each other. And he inserts a Falun, wheel of the law, into your abdomen in another dimension, so that you don't actually have it if you were to, go into hospital for an operation and have your guts cut open, you wouldn't find it in there because it exists elsewhere, but it's still in your body and it's spinning. It spins in one direction to absorb the energy from the universe, and then it spins in the other direction to transmit that energy throughout your body.
And so when they're doing their meditation, what do they think they're affecting their physical state, either in this dimension or another dimension?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The idea is that they're gradually transforming the body that they're born in, which is a perishable, decaying kind of body, into a body full of what they call high-energy substances. And this energy goes into every cell, every molecule of the body, replacing the fleshy, dying kinds of bits of their body. And in doing so, their body becomes purified and rises up a set of steps.
Do they do anything
in the cultivation?
Do they do anything ritualistic besides just sitting there? You know how, like, the Scientologists go into a little room and sweat it all out, and then you got Father Bob's Opus Dei in there wrapping things around their legs to try to create pain or whatever. Do the Falun Gong have any interesting rituals?
Any, like, self-flagellation or stuff like that?
Or just anything that doesn't involve just sitting there?
Well, they're not always just sitting there, but one of the things you've got to say about this group, which I think is actually really important to make clear, is that they're really, really open about what they do. It's not, for instance, like in Scientology, where you go in at step 1 and you're taught only what's suitable for someone at step 1 until you move to step 2, and then you get more of the secrets, and then you move to step 3 and so forth. This is everything that Falun Gong teaches you can download from the web for free, in English if you want to, or in Chinese or in Japanese or in French or whatever language you like. It's translated into many, many languages. So there's no secrets that are yet to be discovered. All this is there for the reading, like what I've done. I've just read this stuff. But no, I mean, there's no particular weirdo rituals. The exercises that you will see people performing in public, in parks or, various places outside Chinese consulates or Chinese embassies and so on, there are actually 5 exercises they perform. Only one of them is kind of sitting in the lotus position in a kind of what we would think of as a standard kind of meditative position. The other 4 are moving exercises, which are more like Tai Chi, but they're not the same movements as Tai Chi at all. But they're 4 sets of exercises.
If they're so just calm and just doing nothing suspicious, why do people accuse them of being a cult? Both the Chinese government, but also people who don't seem to have such a sort of loaded agenda.
Well, what's a cult? My working definition of a cult is a religious group that you wouldn't want your daughter to join. It's in terminology that's a bit less loaded. I would just refer to it as something like a new religious movement. I'm quite happy with that kind of definition of it. Why do the Chinese government dislike it? And I think why do people in general society feel suspicious of it? I think are 2 very, very different questions. I can't speak for everybody in general Western society, but, there are these people who are predominantly Chinese people, although there are some Westerners involved as well, who do something that they don't understand. They're a bit weirded out by it. They don't know why they're doing it. They get concerned, they get scared, they get all those things. Chinese government, on the other hand, Chinese government doesn't like them for very specific reasons. And I got to take you back a few years to explain why. They started in 1992. When they started, they were actually fully supported by the Chinese government. They were registered by the Chinese government. They were part of the whole system. The first book that they published was actually published by a publishing company run by the People's Liberation Army. So, I mean, you couldn't get much more official than that in China.
Then what happened?
I think the problem was they got too big. They got too big and too popular. And the government started thinking, or various organs of the government started thinking that they were, just looking a bit too big for comfort. Eventually, in 1999, after a certain magazine in the city of Tianjin published an article which was critical of them, they had a protest outside the editorial offices of this journal. And the police came, some people were arrested and detained. The Falun Gong people in Tianjin said, will you release them? Go and release them. And the police said, no, you've got to take your question to Peking. You've got to go to Peking and ask them. This is a fairly standard remark that someone in the officialdom of a regional city in China might make. A few days later, they run essentially what's the biggest demonstration that had been seen in China at that point, which was 1999, for 10 years, since the Beijing massacres of 1989 following the student uprising. About between 10 and 15,000 people gather. It's actually on the morning of Anzac Day in Peking, but they, of course, didn't realise it was Anzac Day.
Yes. So the government just saw, wow, they can mobilise tens of thousands of people. This is not a good thing.
Yeah, and then they actually didn't just mobilise them anywhere. They mobilised them right outside the compound in which the leaders of the government and the Communist Party live and work.
Yes.
This would be like, right outside the White House or right outside number 10 Downing Street or something. And they didn't know. As far as we can tell from, reports that came out afterwards, the Politburo, which is the top handful of guys that run China, met the day afterwards, and the president of China said, how come we didn't know this was going to happen? And it turned out that that somehow Falun Gong had flown under the radar of the vast and extensive Chinese internal security networks.
Now, just quickly, I have to ask you, one thing that floats around about Falun Gong is their claim that the Chinese government has a particular agenda against them and kills some of them to take their organs from their live bodies and to give to other people. And when you read about this, either on the net or elsewhere, even Falun Gong supporters who kind of really want to go along with them, they give a very kind of circumspect support for this claim. Like they say, well, that may be true and there is evidence that suggests that, but no one's actually coming out and saying that's definitely true.
I think that's a fairly good summation of the case. There is no hard evidence. There have been people who have been looking very, very hard at this question because it's obviously, if it is true, it's one of the great crimes of the 21st century. It's not that the 21st century is that old, but it would be absolutely appalling to be killing people who are imprisoned so that you can harvest their organs for the transplant market. So people have been looking hard at this. I have an open mind about it, I have to say. I know that there are lots of things that go on in China that we never hear about. I know there's lots of things that go on in China that ordinary Chinese people don't hear about. We know that there is a very large system of detention, different from the courts and the jails. It's a system known as administrative detention, where people can be put, where a lot of Falun Gong people certainly are and have been since 1999. We don't know how many, we don't know where all these places are, we don't know what's happening to them. Their relatives don't know where they are, their relatives don't know what's happening to them.
So no smoking gun quite yet, but you never know.
Well, it's kind of hard to imagine what kind of smoking gun you'd find. I mean, I don't want to be ghoulish about this, but if you were to
But it's more like, surely, footage of Abu Ghraib came out. Like, there might be some equivalent of that, where just...
I can't imagine too many people were taking photographs if this was happening.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, if there was film of someone being operated on and having a liver removed, they don't have a piece of paper tied to their toes saying Falun Gong practitioner. I used to be alive. It's not the kind of thing I think that we're going to see really, really hard, that kind of hard evidence about.
Dr. Benjamin Penny, thank you very much for giving us a summary of another group that may be clobbered over the head with batons at the Olympics. And let's talk again sometime.
Sure, no worries.
The Cat Empire with the two shoes. Triple J this is, by the way, John, on Sunday Night Safran.
I was watching Rage, which I always do if I'm not listening to Triple J. I've noticed there's a real trend amongst alternative bands in their video clips to have scantily clad groups of women, like either as dancers or whatever, but they sort of frame it in a way where they're sort of trying to get off the hook for this sleaze by pretending they're being a little ironic. So it's like, oh, yes, we've got the dancing girls in our video. The new Vines clip has it. And, we've got these women in these hot women in that, what do you call that? You know, like just, in saucy wear, but somehow...
Now what I know, for God's sake.
But somehow they're not the same...
Bare midriffs.
But somehow they're not the same as when, a hip-hop clip does it or, a pop clip does it because they're an alternative, clever band and they're only commenting or whatever.
Yes.
I don't buy it. There was about 10 in a row where they were trying to have their cake and eat it too, have their sleazy women, their sleazy clip with naked women.
Yes, and cake.
And cake too, by pretending somehow, it's just they're being ironic about the whole thing. Do you know who did it, like, the most extreme version of that? A few years ago, there was this woman called Jewel who was like, and she started off and she was like, like she was going for the Tory Amos market or something like that, doing kind of like folk kind of music that was meant to be mean something. Then she came up with out with this song called Intuition, and there was a video clip where she's dressed really sexy and she's got all these backing dancers and like 90% of the clip is that, but littered throughout it are little things that show that she's pretending she's making fun of that sort of clip. So she's sort of like, I'm doing exactly what you see in a Britney Spears clip, but I'm actually making fun of it. Except when they ran the ads on TV for the album, they cut out all the ironic bits, and then it's just her.
See. Yeah.
It's just her
Yes.
looking hot with all these backing dancers.
Yeah. That's why you did the helium.
What do you mean?
Well, to brighten up for the kiddies the deep and meaningful stuff we had. Listen, your friend is got another man, hasn't she?
What?
Your friend.
My friend has got another man? What does that even mean?
Mrs. Hayek.
Mrs. What?
Hayek.
Selma Hayek?
Yeah.
Who I met
Saw her
once in Los Angeles.
Well,
what, really?
Yeah.
She's gone off. So
I think she hasn't married him. I think she's stalking him.
I obviously meant nothing to her.
Nothing at all. That's what I've...
Bumping into her for 25 seconds in Los Angeles.
An unappreciative woman, Anyway, I didn't spend my life looking through the columns of the yellow press.
The only other famous person I saw in LA was that guy from American Pie who puts his genitals in a pie.
Excuse me, the Gentiles?
No, not Gentiles, genitals.
Oh, sorry. But this is this is a Semitic, statement that he's putting the Gentiles into a pie.
You really should start an anti-Semitic website. You're quite good.
What? You set that up? You're talking about putting Gentiles into pies, for God's sake.
Oh, I see. So this is like the poisoning the wells and putting the Gentile blood, sacrificing the and putting it into the Passover bread.
Exactly.
So this is an equivalent of that somehow Jason Biggs is putting Gentiles in a pie.
Oh, dear,
Do you know, speaking, now that you've brought it up,
What?
I was reading Esquire magazine today. I was quite happy. I was feeling quite good. I'm on because about that they did an article on bigotry and there was some research and it was done by a proper, research firm or whatever. It wasn't like some dodgy thing like you'd no doubt do. Like just ask three people and then extrapolate from that.
No, they'd be...
And the question was, if your child was to marry outside his or her religion, who would you most object to them marrying? And number one was like 45% was Muslims. And then after that, this was in America, after that, very next item was atheists.
Oh, isn't that interesting? Yeah.
And then after that, Mormons.
Righto.
But this is where it gets interesting, because obviously I wouldn't talk about anything if it didn't come back down to me. Then after that so it was like about 45% or something for Muslims, and about like 20% for atheists. And it went to Mormons, I've forgotten. Then Protestants was 3% or 4% or something like that. So that was saying that, if people who aren't they wouldn't want their things. So no doubt you're right. Then below that, at around 2 or 3%, was Catholics. But get this, 1%,
Yeah.
the lowest one there was the Jews.
Isn't that interesting?
People would prefer that their child married a Jew than a
Yes.
Catholic.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, you told me that America was run by the Jews. Why wouldn't you?
Okay, more for Bob's website.
Oh, sorry, I didn't.
Jews put Gentiles in pies, and America's run by the
What
Jews.
about Walt Disney is Jewish? Put that down.
Walt Disney is Jewish?
Yeah.
Yes. Anything else?
Well, we'll get round to...
And we all got a phone call.
Is this going to end up in the news?
What?
Jewish news.
Yeah, you could
Just
get
because
in.
I wrote the letter about Dick Pratt.
Too complicated, too much backstory.
Oh, dear.
We're going to be talking, speaking of your people, we're going to be
Yeah.
talking to John Follian. How annoying is this? He's written a book about the mafia. He is in Italy, but he's just got a normal accent, so we don't even get the benefit. And we're going to be calling him in Italy, except it's just going to sound like a regular interview with someone who's not in Italy. Maybe we can ask him to put on an accent, a Sopranos accent.
It's a French mobile. The presets talk like that, John. Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
Joining us from Italy is John Follian, an expert on the mafia and author of a new book, The Last Godfathers. How are you?
Hello, fine, thank you. Yourself?
Good. Now, how much is the Catholic Church and the mafia intertwined, or how much is Catholicism and the mafia intertwined?
Well, it's Catholicism is, I'd say, ingrained in the mentalities of many mafiosi. They're Sicilian, they're brought up as Catholics, and they do believe, as they get on their dirty business, that they are doing God's work and working for the good of their fellow Christians.
And how do they justify that? Is it just like, oh, they make money and they give some of that money to the church, or is it more than that?
Well, it's partly in the roots of that in the history of Sicily. That for centuries it was basically labouring under the absence of a strong state. It was governed from afar by a series of conquerors from across the Mediterranean, and the Italians, with the unification of Italy, only the latest conquerors in a series, and that has made for the Sicilians taking the law into their own hands. As far as security, their wealth goes, any rights in Sicily, and therefore the mafiosi have grown up with this mentality that if you don't do something yourself, nobody will do it for you, and the concept of Catholicism there is. As evidenced by what superclasses reveal, and also by even the letters that the Godfathers write to each other, that they do believe they are good Catholics, and that what they do is justified by the Bible, which they read avidly.
So, and obviously, how do they justify, like, clobbering someone over the head or sawing off their leg or throwing them off a pier?
Right. That's a good question. Well, in their mentality, they are like a state. They refuse the authority of the Italian state, and just like people in the Italian state can justify launching wars or crusades or whatever, so the mafiosi justify administering their own kind of harsh justice to people who they argue do not respect the principles of the mafia, because there is a twisted code of honor, which they all believe in, which has certain rules. So who does not go by the book has to pay the price.
I don't know if this priest was just trying to big note himself, but when I was in Sicily, he told me that because he was encouraging, street kids to kind of, go legit and not work for the mafia anymore, that the mafia turned against him and even threatened him, and I think at some point blew up something.
Absolutely, yes. Well, first of all, there are very few priests, unfortunately, who actually do counter the mafia's authority in their territory, in their parishes. And the first example of a priest being killed by the father was Don Puglisi, who was just outside Palermo, and he was doing exactly that, trying to persuade kids not to follow in their parents' or in their family's footsteps. And he was shot dead on the orders of the local mafia clan, because it could not tolerate such a challenge to its authority.
And how much of an impact does the mafia have on Sicilian life these days?
Oh, I'd say you breathe it in whatever you do, wherever you go. Judge Falcone, who was the bravest anti-mafia prosecutor who was blown up by the mafia in '92. He grew up in the center of Palermo, and he liked to say that he breathed the air of the mafia from a very early age. Even several of his schoolmates went into the mafia afterwards, became drug traffickers or whatever. But you see the mafia even in Sicily when you're looking for a job, when you're trying to get permission to build a house. You just have to go through the people who can give you those permissions, and often you have to do a favor for them in return, and that's the mafioso mentality. And then, of course, the most I would say the most ingrained presence of the mafia is in the protection racket, extortion money, which something like 90% of shops, bars, pizzerias in Palermo and across Sicily, they have to pay every month. They have to pay an amount of money to the mafia, supposed protection money. Of course, it's nothing of the sort. It's just extortion.
Wow. And what kind of numbers, like percentage-wise, of the overall population are involved in the mafia?
Well, look, the population of Sicily is about 5 million, and the estimate by Judge Falcone is that there are about 5,000 members of the mafia. So, of course, that's a tiny minority. And the next question is, well, how come such a tiny minority keeps a huge majority in its role? And the answer is that there is actually a mentality, call it fear, call it resignation, which allows the mafia to operate, and very few people counter it.
The history goes a long way. This is an ordinary poor old parish priest in Melbourne, but the story of the mafia, it seemed to me, started off with freedom fighters. In other words, the place was occupied by so many oppressive regimes from over the seas that up pops the local resistance, which does a good job for a considerable time, but then, like I suppose all movements like that, goes off like a bottle of stale milk and ends up being the crowd that they are today. But the beginnings were honourable, weren't they? The beginnings were honourable.
Well, I wouldn't quite say that. I mean, that's what the mafia likes to say and have people think, is that they started off as Robin Hood figures working for the... Not true, because the actual origin of it, as far as it can be traced, obviously not easy to trace the beginning of a secret society, is in the 19th century when Sicily was ruled by the Bourbons from afar, and basically the rich landowners had to ensure some kind of security on their vast estates, partly because the landowners themselves were not even present, and so therefore they set up these bands of security guards, sort of private army of security guards, to look after their estates, and that basically mushroomed into the mafia with its own code of honor, its ritual, its very strict organization, its pyramidal structure, and of course its huge power and wealth.
What about the popular, the yellow press that has the Catholic Church hierarchy involved with the mafia hierarchy?
Yeah.
Dan
well, look,
Brown.
I mean, there's never been any real evidence of that. What there is that the church has, including very, very senior church figures in Sicily itself, have turned too much of a tolerant eye towards the mafia and have only reacted against it, just like the Italian state for the matter, when there's been a particularly outrageous, let's call it terrorist killing, for example, of Judge Falcone in '92. Yeah. The only real example we've got of mafia money being mixed with the Catholic Church is, of course, the God's Banker case of Roberto Calvi, the Italian banker who was found dead, presumably hanged under Blackfriars Bridge in London in '82. And there it was shown that he was handing mafia money, and he was also working for the Vatican Bank.
What do you reckon would happen if the Pope went hard publicly against the mafia and made it, one of his tenets of what he was going to campaign against?
Well, it could well have a huge influence, because the mafia is not just a problem of repression, of arresting bosses and gangsters and slamming them into jail. It's also a question of, let's say, changing the Sicilian mentality, and because many people in Sicily are very Catholic and would listen to the Pope, it could actually make a difference. There's just only one example of that happening, though, which is when Pope John Paul II went on a visit to Sicily. He went to this beautiful valley called the Valley of the Temples near Agrigento in southern Sicily, and there he was holding his crucifix and brandishing his finger and calling on the mafiosi to repent. And that, even inside the mafia, had an effect. We've got testimony from one supergrass who who was in jail and who broke into tears when he saw John Paul II on television doing this, went to hide in the bathroom, and afterwards decided to turn state's evidence and confess to his crimes and send several of his friends into jail.
Bob, did the mafia ever trickle out into Australia?
Oh, I'm not going to talk about that because that's, isn't it? It's a vexed question about whether the mafia. Well, I mean, there was the famous case of Donald Mackay, who was killed, executed, or whatever. It was alleged because of his being prepared to expose such connections. I think, what was it?
Well,
Cosa Nostra.
Well, yes, I mean, I have no idea about the American mafia. The Sicilian mafia, no, there's no evidence of them having spread to Australia unless, Australia may be on the receiving end of some drug trafficking controlled by the Sicilian mafia. But partly because of the language barrier, they haven't actually, they don't have a colony in Australia.
Yeah, but I think the Australians, being the kind of people we are, who get frightened by any overseas person whatsoever, I think got a fright because of the Italians were gathering together in one area called Griffith, and then seemed to be peddling the idea that these are all conspiring against us. But nothing was proven for over a long period of time.
Now, have you?
Right.
Are you going to get in any trouble for writing this book about the mafia?
God, no. There are very few cases of journalists getting killed by the mafia. There was just two Italian journalists, but I mean, I think the only danger is if you're into Sicily, you're suddenly revealing something which hasn't been made public before, and you're the only one with that information, and therefore they want to kill the secret.
But surely, John, everything's been made public. There's nothing more to be made public, but nothing gets done about what's made public, is it?
That's the problem. That's a hugely frustrating thing, is that we know all this stuff. I mean, of course, we discover it with maybe a 2-3 year time lag because we have to wait for informers to forward and supergraphs to tell us things. But not enough is done about it. The state just limits itself to a couple of measures, but no broad attempt is made at arresting the criminals, and at the same time educating even the children and the kids in school. I went to Corleone a couple of times for research on this book on the Corleone clan, and talked to a teenager there who told me, we've never studied the mafia at school, and this is in the mafia capital of Italy.
John, thanks. We could talk for ages. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Be Your Own Pet by The Kelly Affair, John. Triple J, Sunday Night Safran.
Can all of Australia just swallow humble pie and admit that we all got it wrong, and it's Barack Obama? It's not Barack Obama. It's just that
we all got it wrong.
We started, I don't know why, like when he wasn't that important, that's how it started getting out in Australia.
Barack.
Yeah, we'd pronounce it Barack, but it's just Barack.
It's spelt Barack. B-A-R-A-K.
Listen to any American say it.
Barack. All right.
And I've had emails from American listeners to the
saying
show.
We've mispronounced it.
Yeah, saying why do all you Australians say Barack?
All right.
It's pretty interesting.
Well, that's the character in your Bible, isn't it, Barack?
It's pretty interesting how everyone thinks Barack. It's like he's a shoo-in. Like everyone around the world, as if America is inner city Melbourne writ large. So because all of us in inner city Melbourne and is like, oh man, it'd be really good if George Bush got rid of him and ushered in a new era, man. Like that's what's happening. That's what that's what you can draw. That's what's happening out there in Mississippi. How
citizens of the world, John. Citizens of the world. Our president.
God, it'll be such a. I don't want to be on this world. I want to be on Mars the day after the US election, where Barack hasn't won. Everyone will be pretty dampened, except obviously all the Americans.
Mr. McCain's won, you mean? Or is there somebody else coming from the pack, the back of the pack?
There was a very telling incident.
Ralph Nader might come.
Where a woman who'd done all these video clips on the internet, like these half jokey but sort of sincere ones about how she was a Barack Obama girl, and and she'd done all this campaigning for him in these video clips, wearing saucy outfits. The Vines, if you're listening, you can put her in, that she was asked, some journalist asked her, like, oh, what was it like after, campaigning to finally be able to vote for Barack in the primaries when it was him versus Hillary? And she said, oh, yeah, no, I didn't end up getting to the voting booth. I was like, I was busy, I was on the other side of town and I was going to take a train, but then I thought, nah, or whatever. And in America, it is not compulsory voting, obviously. And so, yes, there's several reasons why.
What are you warning me in advance? There may
I'm just
well
trying to bring everyone, I'm trying to
You're trying to get us ready.
Yes.
All right, thank you for that. That's pastoral care of the kiddies. Can McBain not raise his arms? Is that what I'm seeing on the television? McCain. You've done it again.
I don't know what
He seems to stop there.
Yeah, because he was in like a cage.
He's been damaged, hasn't he?
Yes.
Poor man. Now, you're not going to make fun of that.
The problem with this whole podcast is now Miami people can listen in. And they've all heard about, I don't know how, through their network. So now they're writing to me complaining about you.
What, as a fascist?
Yes, you, for having a go at Miami
No, as a
Cubans.
commo. Well, what are they saying?
We should give her a right of reply to at least our guest from last week, who came on and you were awfully polite to him on air, and then as soon as he left, to go back to his tapas bar.
Yeah, Christ the King and fascism.
You called him a fascist, but not when he was on the air with you, so you could fight back.
But I thought the microphone was off.
He's written in for Henry Gomez. Just got back from my meeting with my fellow fascist terrorists here in Miami. He's being sarcastic.
Is he? An American being sarcastic.
And listen to the show. I wanted to follow up with and he gives a couple of links to a site called therealcuba.com. And then he particularly takes issue with your point that you think if someone uses the expression Christ the King, that's code for them being fascist.
Well,
I never called Father Bob a commo. I just expressed dismay that a priest could have any sympathy for a regime that has repressed religion to such an extent as Cuba has. And I never said, long live Christ the King, but was explaining that in the early days of Castro's reign of terror, he executed many young men and boys whose last words were, long live Christ the King. I don't think that qualifies me as a fascist, as Father Bob seems to think. Thanks, Henry. And yes, thank you, Henry.
Yes, thank you, Henry.
I'm on your side, Henry.
I'm not saying that I'm on the side of Mr. Castro. I'm saying a lot of Cubans may well believe that their current position, poor as it may be in the sight of the world, is in fact better than what they were under before.
Well, this is where you're arguing at cross purposes with our friend Henry.
Henry, you're right.
Because you're saying that Castro was better than some guy in the older days, that a fascist. Whilst people like Henry are saying that Castro isn't better than systems like America or Australia.
All right, I don't agree.
So you're not arguing. You're talking about two different things.
Of course.
And stop calling our guests fascist after they leave.
Well, I thought fascist was a term of endearment.
It's not. Did I tell you about... I got in trouble calling... Dear listener, I'm sorry if I've told you this story before, but... I got in trouble at Yeshiva College in high school because I'd watched The Young Ones, that TV show with those comedians, and there was this guy called Rick. He was one of the characters.
I remember Rick, big teeth in that.
Yes, and he played the kind of a send-up of a university anarchist, and he'd go around and he'd call him fascist and stuff, and I didn't know what that meant, or I didn't really kind of realise the baggage behind it. And then, but I was just because I was under the influence of the show, a bit like, if I'd watched The Simpsons and said, don't have a cow, man. I once screamed out to my sports teacher because he said, I was up there at the top of the school and he was down there at the ground. I said, did I get on the soccer team? He said, no. I said, fascist. But I was like quoting Rick from The Young Ones, but he didn't know that. So he came running up the staircase, and I was going, he said, come down now. So I came down the staircase, and he met me halfway and slammed me against the wall.
Oh, well, he was a fascist.
And said, don't ever use that. I think he...
I see. Don't use that. That's not only a derogatory...
I think because of his ethnic... it was like, I don't want to get into it. I don't want to start identifying who he was, but I think because of his family... history, it was a particularly insulting thing to say. Yes. But I just meant it like Rick and the Young Ones.
I'm saying within the Catholic thing, there appears to be a political fascist element, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not my way of living Catholicism, that's all.
Yes, well, you just
Yeah, sorry, Henry, if he's upset. I mean,
Well, you just go back to your cushy, subsidised church life.
Yep. And don't put myself on the line or shed my blood or... Yep.
Sorry, Henry, I'm on your side.
Sorry, Henry.
But I can't, because like you, Henry, I'm not a fascist, and unlike Cuba, we're allowed to say what we want. I have to allow Bob to say what he wants.
Yeah, well, I'm not a...
Passive-aggressive of me. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Henry.
Sorry.
Sorry, United States of America, and sorry, Miami. And sorry to the expatriates from Cuba who live in Miami.
Maybe we should start catering, because I got like 3 emails from Miami people this week because of you. So we should start catering and start around our new audience.
Yeah.
Maybe play Gloria Estefan and the Miami
I reckon
Sound
we
Machine.
should. We show these people, or the expatriates, that in fact we're on their side.
We'll talk more after this.
Death Cab for Cutie with Kath. Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
I can't read comic books with superheroes because I can't put aside logic things, and I start worrying about their special powers and stuff.
Yes.
I remember there was like some Looney cartoon where he talked about how Superman, if he really had X-ray visions, he'd see through everything and then start seeing through the back of his head again. And that's what I used to think. But anyway, I was told, John, read this one, Watchmen by Alan Moore, because he's like a highbrow graphic novelist. And it's all going good. It's great. Great story, great characters, right? Because it's like grounded in, relative reality. But then there's the one character that has like supernatural abilities that aren't kind of grounded in anything we know about reality. And it's the same thing, because he can disappear anywhere and reappear anywhere. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll go along with that. That's fine. Yeah, I can get that. Because they're making it happen because of some failed experiment in some lab or whatever. And it's set in the 1980s, but don't worry. But then he's got this other power where if he's like in a room, like if he was here, as well as him being able to disappear and go into the other room, somehow to do with atoms and blah, he can also make us disappear and go into another room whilst he stays in this room.
Oh, that's a bit...
And that's too
rich.
much, because I start thinking, because in the whole book, it's sort of like, how are they going to use him to win wars? Like, how's America going to use him to win a war in Afghanistan? So as soon as he can do that, it's like he can do everything.
Yes.
It's like, why doesn't he just make all the communists in Afghanistan disappear?
Yes.
Why doesn't he just make, disintegrate Russia? It just... I don't know, but I'm only about 100 pages in. Maybe they kind of qualify this superpower in some way that will make me not kind of so...
Edgy. Yes. Well, thanks for that. But they're not communists in Afghanistan, by the way. You're a bit
it's the olden
anti-commo, aren't
days.
you?
No, the olden days. I'm talking
before.
Yeah, I'm talking about the old war. Now, the old one between... when the
Russians.
Yeah, when the Russians went in.
I see.
That's why it's set around that time.
That's when Osama bin Laden would have been a good bloke, according to the Americans.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we swap sides.
Wow, that's great insight.
Hey, what
there,
do you
Bob.
feel about the arrest of Mr... What's his name?
Oh, God, don't ask me. What?
Go on.
What? About who?
Mr. Babic.
Oh, our little Serbian friend.
Yeah.
Why did you call him...
Radovan Karadzic. Because his name, his assumed name is Dr. Dragan David Dabic.
So, and he went undercover.
He went undercover
He was
as an
king of the-
alternative medicine person.
He grew a beard. He grew a long beard and went around in a gown.
Yeah.
And then he was even like writing a column for an alternative medicine.
Yeah. One of the most prominent experts in the field of
Former
alternative
Bosnian
medicine.
Serb leader. So he was on the news everywhere. And then he just goes undercover.
Exactly.
Like he's Michael Myers in The Love Guru or something.
Well, there you are. Maybe the other man, General, what's his name? The other fella is going to turn up as a Serbian Orthodox priest or something.
By the way, listeners, on the subject of religion, this may be your only religious media for the week. You know, the Anglicans are just self-destructing at the moment, but no one cares because they're so boring. The Anglicans are so boring that they can fall apart and no one even knows.
Or they would say they were environmentally friendly, you see, because they coexist with. You see? I like the Anglicans.
Yeah, I like them too, but
But my mob's done itself to death over the centuries, but we're still holding the centre. The Anglicans say, well, that's not worth it just to hold the centre. We can be devolutionary.
They're all. What's going to be left? What's going to be left of the Central Anglican community?
Knows?
What's your prediction? What's going to be left? Because they're falling off on this side. Some want to leave and form their own version of Anglicanism. Some want to leave and join the Catholics. What's going to be left of, what's his name? Archbishop
Rowan Williams.
It's going to be a very small
Well, it's the ancient office of the Archbishop of Canterbury, but even then I suppose people would say, well, the seat of Canterbury was Roman Catholic for centuries. I don't know, it's very sad. It's very sad, but still, that's the time. That's the way that things are in the times we live in.
Now we're going to go to religious song of
There's
the
more
week.
Anglicans in Africa and Latin America than there are in England and Europe.
We're going to go to religious song of the week next.
Is with cult romance.
Religious song of the week.
Joining us from San Diego, California, USA, punk rockin' Zen Buddhist Brad Warner. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Good. Now, were you born into a Buddhist tradition, or did you arrive at it?
I guess you'd say I arrived at it. I didn't have any real religious upbringing, and Buddhism became a kind of a factor in my life when I was about 18.
And
So,
did you get involved in music before you got involved with Buddhism, the other way around, or both at the same time?
No, music was before. I was probably like 11 or 12 when I first started playing guitar, and had a band by the time I was like 14. So yeah, it was earlier, a little earlier.
And how did you start applying your Buddhism to your music?
Well, I don't know if I applied it to my music. I played in punk rock bands and hardcore, what they called hardcore punk, and I found Zen at about the same time as I found hardcore punk. I mean, I'd been playing guitar for a few years by then, but hardcore punk became, in the early 80s, was this big thing, this big movement that I kind of got swept up in. And I kind of felt after a while that the hardcore punk scene was not being true to its own values of just questioning society and questioning everything. It was good to question society, but you couldn't question punk society, for example. So that's and I came to Buddhism at about the same time, and I found in it something that questioned even itself. In the Zen tradition, even Zen itself is questioned.
Now,
so go ahead.
What is the Soto school of Zen Buddhism, where you were ordained?
Okay, let me try to give you the easiest version. The Soto school of Zen was founded more or less by a guy named Dogen in the 1200s. He's the one, it was actually existed before then as a kind of a minor school in China, but he's the one who brought it to Japan, and then it made it a lot bigger. And it was a school that said you do your meditation practice, your zazen. The other forms of Zen that existed said you did your meditation in order to reach enlightenment. And Soto school said that the meditation practice itself is enlightenment. It's a weird thing if you've ever actually tried it, because if you try it, it just seems like boredom. You're just sitting there looking at a wall. And people were waiting for something to happen from this process of sitting and looking at a wall. But Dogen said, no, that's it.
And why did you decide that you were going to get involved in a branch of Buddhism that was almost counter to other forms of Buddhism?
Oh, I don't know if it's counter to it. People within the Soto tradition would say it's the true form of Buddhism, but then, of course, you get that from everybody. It doesn't seem counter to it. It seems to me to be a more direct form of it, because what Buddha did, after all, was sitting underneath a tree. I mean, if you read the old legends of Buddha, that's what he did. And so in the Soto tradition, that's what we do. We sit.
Now, we're going to be playing your song for Religious Song of the Week, Hypocrite. Now, any Buddhist themes in this? Or
No.
just general vague vibes of Buddhism?
No, I don't think so. I mean, well, this is written before I really got into Buddhism in a big way, and it's from a band, the band I was in, Zero Defects, is the only song I sing, and it's just sort of teenage angst and anger.
Okay.
No.
So I guess this is Non-Religious Song of the Week. Thank you very much for joining us, Brad Warner, and we'll listen to Hypocrite now.
The Wombats are lost in the post. Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
Hey, be careful of those Hare Krishnas, man. I don't want to extrapolate from one person's actions to a whole group of people.
No.
But, you get the...
God forbid.
You get the cheap lentils. That's good. But the president of a Hare Krishna temple in the UK has been forced to resign after being found guilty of beating students in India. He inflicted inappropriate and excessive corporal punishment, according to a report published this week.
What, he beat him with a stick or something, or a shoe, or...?
A bell. Let's say
Matters.
a bell. Now I'm just making it up. A lentil. He beat them with a lentil.
A stale lentil. What else you got for us?
I am annoyed that I screwed up because of my helium addiction, the censorship interview last week, because I had a point, or I had a discussion point, because I was reading about how the assumption is somehow that big corporations are out to get you.
Yeah.
But often these corporations are just amoral. So if they're going to make more money from doing the right thing, they're going to do that than by doing the wrong thing. They're not going to intentionally do the wrong thing and lose money just because they're psychopaths. So I'm thinking in the case of the internet with companies like Google and Yahoo, because they're just like neurotic companies that are constantly got all their shareholders making sure that they've got exactly, they're getting more and more business, more and more people going to their sites and stuff. So for Google to be perceived as censoring anyone or any of these big companies is bad for business, because they'll get less customers, which means there's this kind of built-in protection for Google to censor, because it's not good for their business, because people will go elsewhere.
I'm not taking much part in this conversation.
Why not?
Well, I mean, it's too young.
So when Google's sort of like talking about, we don't censor or whatever, it's not because of their egos or
No.
it's not because they care what you think of them. They care what you think of them because the internet is about information, and people go to sites because they think that's the best site that will be providing that service. It's bad for them to be seen as being censorious, which is a kind of a built-in protection. Now I'm repeating myself.
Yeah.
See, this is what I would have talked about last
to
week.
that woman,
if I wasn't
except
on helium.
that you were on helium.
Yes, except I was on helium.
You told me at the start of last week's show helium was absolutely harmless.
I know, because I wanted you to do it.
And what, just say if I had a stroke? It would have been good radio, you think? Talking out one side of the mouth and not able to put the headphones on because the other hand was paralysed. I think that was a little risky.
That's how dangerous we get.
Have we lost a guest?
I think the Nepalese guest we may have lost. I wonder if he's a Gurkha. Can you tell what?
I can't tell you much about Gurkhas, except they fought for the British. They offered their services to the British, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so.
During the Raj, as they called it, did they? I hope we're right on this, because somebody's going to get us.
A Gurkha might sneak
the Gurkhas
up. Aren't they meant to be like the...
famous, like the SAS, famous
and they can just sneak up on you. So
do all kinds of things, and do it because they were tightly bound together as a ethnic group. You see?
Can't do Gurkhas. They do that thing where you're seeing them like 50 metres over in the distance over there, and you go, oh, it's a Gurkha or whatever, and the next thing you know, you can't see them there, and then it's like...
They're behind you.
And they've garroted you.
Like the ninjas.
Yes. They're the Gurkhas, aren't they? That's how my dad always explained the Gurkhas to me.
I think it's a bit... I don't know whether they're endowed with superhuman powers, but they would appear to be, when confronted by a weaker opponent.
A bit like my dad was the first to introduce me to the Uyghur culture through Uyghur hats. Because
Yes.
my dad's got this bit of this obsession. I don't know why.
Yes.
He used to... there's a few Gurkha restaurants in Melbourne, and when I used to go there, my dad used to try to start conversations with the Nepalese staff about their culture, and they just weren't interested. But they weren't trying to be rude or anything, but it was just like... So my dad's like trying to talk to the Gurkhas, to this poor kind of Nepalese Australian who's like no doubt not getting paid because it's just their parents' restaurant. And, yeah...
Well, everybody keeps saying it in my age group, oh, yes, the Gurkhas. If only we had the Gurkhas, the war in Afghanistan would be over in 5 minutes. So that's their reputation and their legend. Well, I'm sorry the Nepalese gentleman seems to be lost in the railway system or the public transport system of Melbourne. He can negotiate the Nepalese Himalayas.
Yeah, but that is what I'm saying. We think he's not here, but he could be here.
He could be here, but he's...
hidden in the corner or something.
Exactly.
Behind that Triple J.
Well, why don't
sign.
you talk to him if he's sitting maybe in that seat over there?
You know, we have one ace in the hole, if that's the expression. I've always thought if a guest doesn't turn in, wouldn't we just get the producer in
That's what I thought.
to fake being the guest?
Yes.
I guess, obviously, with an accent, it's not going to work that well, but you never know. Anyway, we're going to go to a song.
So Gurkha MacDonald.
And hope the Gurkha comes in after this. The
Irish kids keep crashing by the frills. Frills or thrills? Doesn't matter.
Both. Now, our first Nepalese has fallen off. I don't know what's happened. He's
Into
got
a
lost on the way.
crevasse.
Possibly attacked by a Gurkha himself.
Yes.
But we found another Nepalese dude who's helpfully come to the rescue, Kamalayan Shrestha. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you, yeah.
Sorry for mispronouncing your name.
Oh, that's all right, yeah. It's a bit hard to pronounce
Now,
my name, yeah.
you're our stand-in guy, because the other guy, for some reason, even though the Nepalese are famous for being resourceful, hasn't been able to make it to the studio. Now, but we wanted to talk about Nepal and what's happened recently there, because incredible stuff has happened, but hasn't really been discussed a lot in Australia.
Oh, sorry, I didn't get you very clearly, so there's a bus. I'm in the bus riding home, so...
Are you driving the bus?
No, I'm not driving, I'm in the bus.
God.
Ah, yeah.
So
He
your
just
voice
wants
is
to know
breaking up.
what's been going on in Nepal with regards to the changeover from the monarchy to the present government. Can you hear that?
Okay, yeah. So recently we have the president's election through constituency assembly, and the president and the vice president has been elected, and the previous prime minister has resigned, and the king of Nepal has left his position about a month ago.
So no more royal family at all?
No more royal family at all. I mean, constitutionally, they are just a common people.
And how many generations has the royal family been there for?
Yeah, 14th generation. The last king was 14th generation, and I think the kingship had started about 240 years ago.
And was this royal family loved?
The years?
Were they loved? Like, why were they finally? Why was there finally a coup? Why were they finally gotten rid of?
Oh, okay. The present king was not doing very well. I mean, he wanted to have absolute monarchy systems. He wasn't liked by the people, and he tried to grab the power, democratic power, which was established in 1990 through a small revolution. So that was the main reason the king was thrown away.
And what is the political persuasion of the party that's taken over from the royal family?
Sorry, what's that? Say again, please.
What is the political views of the party that's taken over from the royal family?
What is, sorry? What?
We were told that the communists did in fact have the biggest number of people in the parliament. Will they form the government, or are there other parties?
At the moment, I think they're saying that they have their candidate for the presidency, and since their candidate was knocked back, he wasn't selected. So they're saying that probably they will not form the government, although they have got a majority in the Constituent Assembly. So that's a new development in the political situation in the country. So at the moment, we don't know who will form the government. So probably there will be some kind of coalition between the Nepalese Congress and the United Marxist-Leninism, which is the third biggest party in the Constituent Assembly.
Thanks for being... Well, no, good job.
Just one more question. I read that Nepal was the only official Hindu country in the whole world. Is it still an official Hindu country?
No more.
No more.
Yeah,
so that
no
all
more
ended.
Now, yeah. Previously, it used to be only Hindu country in the world, but after about a couple of years ago, they introduced the secular system, secular kind of constitution. So the constitution has recognized that Nepal will be no more a Hindu country.
Thank you for filling in for Surendra. We're very grateful to you and wish you a safe bus trip.
Bus trip to home.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Ciao.
Sorry about the background noise and.
Well, you can't. That's the beauty of travelling by bus in Melbourne, isn't it?
Thanks very much.
Thank you, and it's safe. That was The Damn Truth by Muff and Plutonic. John, Sunday Night Safran on Triple J.
Genuine dilemma here where we need a priest to...
We do. We're a rabbi.
I went out because after the Nepalese interview, which I'm sure will be submitted by Triple J to various radio awards around the world, and we might come home with a prize. The David, the producer, left the microphones on, so we were here and we knew we couldn't talk, like start bitching about you, the listeners, when the song plays, like we usually do, because we could see the red light on, right? But he wasn't paying attention, so I had to leave. So I snuck out very quietly, making sure I didn't bag all the listeners like we usually do when the songs are on. And then when I came back in, there was an ambiguous $20 note near the doorway, which we just honestly don't Did that fall out of my pocket, or did it fall out of your pocket when you walked in before?
Well, I'm nearest the door.
Or is it from someone who did the show before? Is it John Fain's $20?
I would have seen it had it been.
Is it Tony
there.
Delroy's $20?
Oh, look, sorry, I just looked in my wallet. Oh, yeah, there's $20 missing. Yes. Thank you. Thanks for that.
Well, that solves it then.
Well, I mean, no, but you're not going to put a bid in for it.
Also, was that made up, your story? Or it could have been... Is that your $20, really? Then how come it's not... It doesn't have the same foldy folds.
No, it hasn't. I haven't got those folds. I don't
want to get all CSI on you, but
I don't usually... Here's another one.
You've got 4 folds, so how would that fold...
Yes, here's one. That's one that's been in my wallet. Now, if you want to compare... See how smooth the one is in my wallet, isn't it?
Yes. So what do we do with this $20? No doubt we have to donate it to some.
Well, do we
charity.
Donate it to the ABC?
I went to this art exhibition, and they had this fundraiser. It was the art for their opening. They had a fundraiser for the Variety Club or whatever. And it was so one of the paintings sold. The went to the Variety or something like that. And I was thinking. For Christ's sakes, these poor artists, they need the freaking money. They should they could barely stand up on their sort of high heels that they'd specially worn for the opening, where they'd no doubt borrowed them off a friend who wasn't
thin
staff.
and emaciated.
Yes, and it's why suddenly do these impoverished, skinny, hollowed cheekbone have to raise money for something? They should be raising it for themselves.
Yeah, poor devils. Well,
I always had that discussion. I always had that thing with a public radio station I was previously employed at, where they'd occasionally do a fundraiser for a third part, and I was like, man, we can barely keep the the doors open here, we're playing the same old scratchy violent femmes record for the 17th year because we can't afford a new
and
violent
you had to bring your own radiogram
and why are we,
studio.
why are we raising money for this other admittedly, worthy cause when we can't afford a new violent femmes record?
Well, where are you going to put that $20? With the fork, I can't take it because mine are all smooth. Well, leave it there for the next boy or girl.
I don't know.
Or give it to the producer, or send it to Serpil, who is in Turkey.
This will be the start of... Do you ever watch those black and white films that they have on at about, like, midnight on the ABC, and they're, like, these British films, like, from the 60s, and there's some, like, genre of film I've never seen before, and they're all, like, these morality plays. Like, it's all about how someone wins the lotto, a poor family wins the lotto, and then everything that rolls out as a consequence of it. And then it's like they're happy, but then someone kills and then blah and goes. Yes. That's what's going to happen with this $20. I can see.
Do you think it's going to have a story behind it?
Yeah, like I'm going to take it, and it's going to lead to this chain of events which ends up in your murder.
Oh, I see. For my murder because of you take the $20 note. All right. Well, let's wait and see, folks. If there's no Bobby next week, you'll know that I've been murdered over a mysterious $20 note.
Bob, can you tell me how you're meant to decide whether people are good or evil generally? Like, this is also tied in with the internet, right? Before the internet was around, we could all go around and pretend and assume that people in power were, like, awful because they do things and they, they send us off to wars and they're greedy and all they care about it. But us regular people, because there was no real information one way or the other... We were decent, and if we ever kind of got as people, we'd be okay. But then the internet came along where it's like the id of the world. Like anyone can go, most people can get on and say what they...
Oh, I like that. The id of the world.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
And it seems like people are just a-holes.
Tell the kiddies what the id is.
I don't quite know.
Well, it's Freudian, isn't it? You've got the ego and the id. The id is the hidden, the subconscious.
Listen, sometimes the id is just the id. Like, don't think about it too much.
Not the id. The id.
Again, another page for Father Bob's Jewwatch.com. But if you look at the internet, right, like, people are just, like, generally, it's like the biggest thing on the internet, for example, is, like, porn, which is, like, I guess you can have some argument about whether it's good or bad. I'm not saying it's all bad or whatever, but it's like, and then there's all this racism on it just seems like people are awful. People aren't good.
Yeah, but that's a perception, surely. A perception only.
Listen, I don't want to get tied down. If you type in the word Jew on the internet, the first thing that comes out, it's not like, they make wonderful bagels.
No.
It's not like, let's talk about the history or whatever. It's like this... It's an anti-Semitic website.
Oh, is it?
Which is nearly as bad as FatherBobJewWatch.com.
Is it?
Yes. So that's sort of like... That's like a vote, if you know what I mean. Like, to be number one on Google, that means, like, most people...
You sure? Do it. You've got the thing there. What are you going to say? You type in Jew...
You watch it.
And up comes some ghastly anti-Jewish website. I couldn't.
Jewwatch News, the most comprehensive and easiest to use website, blah, blah. If we go to it, you'll be very
shocked.
shocked.
The microphone's over here. John, there's the microphone in front of your face.
And it's all about Zog and Holocaust revisionism and stuff. That's number one.
Yeah. I'm surprised.
So isn't that just saying that people, when people were given the votes...
That's the id.
Yeah, they became a-holes. And, like, not just that. I'm talking about all sorts of things and porn and everything. It's like, people are just jerks.
Is there nothing good?
Some people are good.
But you've annoyed me now about that thing because I thought that the what do you call it? The internet was in fact a force for good, mainly. Now you're telling me that in fact it's infested with demons.
Yes. I want to know how do you work out how many people are a-holes compared with non-a-holes?
Well, isn't there a meter? There's a meter there that measures it. Look over there. See? There's a meter that says, what's that red light flashing off and on? What's it say there? 100,000
Oh, really?
something.
The thing just underneath the Zionist road to 9/11? No, it just says something. No, that doesn't tell us anything.
Oh, sorry about that. Oh, well, you frustrated me because I really thought the internet was in fact going to be like the kingdom of heaven on earth.
Because maybe Dalrymple's right, our fearless leader, because he says it's a constant battle for us to be a moral society.
Yes, he thinks we were born what? With
well, not us. Like it's like because we used to be barbarian, right? And then we've somehow, through a lot of effort and concentration, we've ended up at a point where we can be, but we have to constantly. It's not like our default position. Our default position is to be a-holes and to not care about each other.
That's like original sin for the Roman Catholics. We're all born with a tendency to be a-holes. What's this a-hole business? I mean, all of a sudden we've become a little bit, you know what I mean? Gordon Ramsay-ish.
Now, we've got to say goodbye to everyone. Thank you very much, Dr. Benjamin Penny. We could have called him, of course, this would annoy him so much. Because everyone
we could
must
have called him up again and said...
No, he called him Benny Penny.
No.
But he no doubt gets that all the time. John Follian.
Yes.
You
tried to pin on this poor man, and he came up in answer to you by saying, yes, the mafiosi are Catholics. That's not the same question you asked him, whether the Catholic Church
Thank
itself
you,
were mafioso.
Brad Warner, punk-rocking Zen Buddhist.
And thank you to Surendra Shestra.
No thanks to him. He didn't turn up.
No, but
the other
thank
guy.
him, because the poor man is wandering around in the dark all over Melbourne.
Ah, yes.
Looking for the light on the hill.
See, that's why you're a better person than me. All I could think about is how it affected us. Like,
you said he's an a-hole.
Yeah, we had this gap in the show because he hadn't turned up.
Yeah, but he's fallen down a crevice in Clifton Hill or somewhere, and the body won't be found for days and days and days, see? Always look on the bright side of life.
And thank you for the replacement Nepalese.
Yes, the man on the bus who hopefully will get home safely.
And who wants this? I can't take this $20 because then you'll put that up on your frigging...
I'll say yes, I was in the studio with John Safran, and guess what? The Jew took the $20.
Dear listeners, go to triplej.net.au/Safran.
And fatherbob.com, because there's a new show on where I identify myself as Sister Roberta.
I don't know what that means.
I know you won't. Go and look.
Thank you, David, the producer. Thank you, dear listeners.
J stand for... Triple J.